Welcome to The Verdict. Kent Myers. Once again, we're doing our show from the Tulsa studios of Cox. We appreciate their hospitality very much. Mick Cornett is not here this week. As I indicated last week, he's on some city business and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But we're going to kind of muddle through here and try to get our show done in the way that we think you'll enjoy, or at least you'll find very interesting. I hesitate to say enjoy because we've entitled this show The Horrors of Human Trafficking. So we're not talking about a light, funny, airy subject this Sunday. We're talking about a very serious, somber topic that we think you'll enjoy, however, hearing more about and knowing about how some within our states trying to stop it and correct the problem of human trafficking. So sit back, relax. We're going to take a brief commercial break and we'll be back and meet our guests on the horrors of human trafficking. You're watching The Verdict.
I've always been a public servant. I've served either tribes, I've served the federal government, or I've served state governments. The law allows me to express my natural desire to advocate. My name is Stephanie Cochran. I am an attorney and I am Chickasaw. Lawyers give their clients, and in my case, tribal governments, a voice. And it's through legal decisions that tribes have been able to accomplish and to regain some much lost footing that they encountered in the late 1800s and the 1900s. When I reflect back on this time in history, I think I'll look at it in terms of opportunity. And I think now we have to turn those opportunities into long-term success for our future generations.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
People have been talking about energy independence for a long time. It's always been popular, but today it's possible.
We have an enormous supply of oil and gas in the United States, much more than we thought just a few years ago.
New technology, massive new discoveries, largely made by Oklahoma companies. It literally changes everything.
And Oklahoma is leading the charge. Go watch this video to see why. Energy independence starts with us.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Today we're really pleased to have two guests joining us to talk about the problem of human trafficking in Oklahoma. To my left is Lou Kohlman. Lou's been on the show a couple of times about this topic and others in the past. We're really pleased to have her back. She is a commissioner in the Oklahoma Commission on the Status of Women. She is serving a 5-year term. Pardon me. She is a staff attorney for the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals. She did her undergraduate work at Rice University, did her graduate law work at Harvard Law School. She has been an adjunct faculty member at Oklahoma City University and the University of Oklahoma Colleges of Law. And we're really pleased to have you back.
Well, thank you.
We know that you're involved in this topic, and we'll get back to you in just a second. To my right is Valeska Littlefield. Valeska is a commissioner also on the Commission on the Status of Women. She has had prior experience running pregnancy programs. She is now the consultant to the Oklahoma State Board of Medical Licensure on a number of different topics where they need her experience. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Very glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies, I'm just going to throw this up and let either one of you grab it and run with it, and then we'll see how it works. Tell us about the upcoming summit that your commission is having. What's it about? Why are we having it? Whom is it that might be able to attend and the like?
Okay. Well, the Oklahoma Commission on the Status of Women, it's my privilege to chair the commission this year, and a couple of years ago, we got involved in the issue of human trafficking. Representative Pam Peterson, who's a former commissioner, and is passionate about this issue, brought it to our attention.
And she's been on our show talking about this issue.
I'm not at all surprised. She brought it to our attention as a serious and growing problem in Oklahoma. And at that time, we decided we need to do something to, A, bring this to greater attention, and B, help to fix the problem. How can we find a solution? And that was almost 2 years ago, and we've been working since then on this summit. And briefly, what we've done is we have, I'm going to ask Valeska to talk a little more about the details. But briefly, what we've done is we have two partners, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics and the Oklahoma Women's Coalition. And working together with them, we have, starting in January, had 2 solutions group panels from stakeholders, people in the judicial system, people in law enforcement, people who are in non-governmental organizations and nonprofits who work either to prevent human trafficking or with victims. We've had, or survivors, as they prefer to be called, we've had those groups meeting once a month since January to talk about some of these issues. And what we plan to do on July 17th in downtown Oklahoma City at the Sheraton is...
It's just a little over a week from now.
That's right, is bring together as many of these stakeholders as we can, and anyone from across the state who's interested in the problem, to come and listen to what our groups have been working on and to hammer out what we intend to be a statewide action plan to coordinate all the efforts we've got. We're trying to bring everybody together, figure out who's doing what works, what isn't being done, what needs to happen, and then get that moving forward.
Valeska, let me ask you, whom is it that can attend this? Can my next door neighbor, if he or she decides to want to attend, can they attend if they register and all?
Yes, they can attend if they register.
They don't have to be a member of an organization that is involved in trying to stop human trafficking.
They do not, excuse me, they do not. The people that we are targeting for this conference are those who do want to step up and help in the collaborative effort to combat human trafficking in the state of Oklahoma. And there are a lot of people who are not affiliated with a particular organization. Mm-hmm. However, they are aware of what's going on. They have educated themselves, but want to know what can they do as an individual to help combat this problem. And so that person I would love to have at this conference.
So you have opportunities to assist on addressing this problem, not only to the professionally trained counselors and the like, but to the average citizen who just wants to see if trying to make life better.
Yes, because so many people become aware of the problem, but they're not really sure what they can do to help combat that problem. And so this will help them get involved in the different areas that they may be interested in to be able to just plug in and really work to make this a problem that Oklahoma can be #1 in combating.
Yeah. Lou, help our viewers and me on really understanding what kind of activity we are talking about when we use the phrase human trafficking.
What we do, and that's a really good question, because it's hard to get your head around this. A lot of people, when you think of human trafficking, they think of things that happen overseas or in other countries, and that's certainly part of it.
All those girls that were taken, kidnapped recently.
Exactly, exactly.
That's what.
Or all the children in Thailand who are in the sex trade. And that's certainly human trafficking, but what we do is we are following the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics definition. Which is roughly the basics of it. And this is a nationwide law enforcement definition. Basically is to use someone to use someone by force or coercion for gain. That is, for your gain by force or coercion to have that person do something. And I say that because there's both sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Mm-hmm. The pickle factory here in Tulsa is an example of labor trafficking, where you can bring immigrants in and essentially keep them captive in your shop to work for you.
What kind of trafficking do we see in Oklahoma primarily?
What we primarily see in Oklahoma would be what we call domestic sex trafficking.
And what do you mean by that?
That would be somebody who is from the United States and
Yes.
Oklahoma that are being coerced or forced, or there's some type of fraud you have your traffickers who are using these people for sex activities for their profit. And there's a difference between prostitution and sex trafficking, because a lot of times people think all prostitution is sex trafficking, which is not the case. But in the area of sex trafficking, it really is those three terms: being forced by somebody, being coerced by somebody, or there being fraud in that process.
But it can be activity above and beyond any sexual connotation. It can be a gang member forcing a young teenager to go in and rob a store and give the spoils to the gang member.
It could be that. That would be more along the lines of labor trafficking.
Yeah.
Usually what law enforcement focuses on, though, because there's other ways to deal with that. That falls within another number of other crimes as well.
Yes.
But labor trafficking and sex trafficking are really, they're almost distinct in their patterns. And in fact, it's interesting, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics is the lead law enforcement agency in human trafficking in the state. That's why we're partnering with them. And that's because Director Darrell Weaver, when he they began to become aware of this as a problem in Oklahoma, and it is a problem in Oklahoma, and we'll talk about that in a second. They realized that human trafficking was a lot like drug trafficking. And in fact, there are gangs who are now realizing that they can get a lot more return on their property by selling women and girls and children than they can by selling drugs.
We're going to have to interrupt at this point to get to a break, but we'll come back to this when we get through with our commercial break. You're watching The Verdict. We are visiting with Lou Kohlman and Valeska Littlefield on the problem of human trafficking, and we shall be right back.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back, Kent Myers. We're visiting this morning with Lou Kohlman and Valeska Littlefield on the horrors of human trafficking and what some good folks in Oklahoma are trying to do to make that situation much, much better. And in part, it's a summit that's going to be coming up here in a little over a week now. It'll be held in Oklahoma City at the Sheraton Hotel. Talk to us, Valeska, a little bit about the problem in Oklahoma as you see it.
Well, one of the basic problems in Oklahoma is our interstate system. because of our I-44.
You mean the interstate highway system?
The interstate highway system,
Yep.
in that it is a highway where trafficked victims are sent all over the nation. And so there is that high concentration here in the state because of the traveling aspect of the trafficking victims. And so another thing about the problem here in Oklahoma is the average age of a human trafficked victim is around 13. And they will tend to be, we kind of have a theory that they tend to be your runaways, or tend to be human trafficking victims. I believe the statistics are within 48 hours of running away, she is approached by a trafficker. Another problem is a lot of the traffickers do come out, trafficking victims, do come out of, I'm going to call them the disenfranchised youth of our state. They can be those who have aged out of the DHS system and don't really have anywhere to go. Parents that aren't around, they are kind of the goal of these traffickers, is to be able to bring these young women in. We've seen movies about Taken is one movie that kind of highlighted trafficking in the world. However, in Oklahoma, it tends to be more of a, she meets somebody who is a trafficker, and he will promise her the world, and he will really woo her, and she will fall in love with him. And then at that point, he then turns the table and then requires her to sell her body for him to make money. And that's kind of the typical pattern in the state of Oklahoma.
Are drugs typically involved?
Yes, drugs are typically involved. A lot of victims that have become survivors will, in their testimony, will talk about how the trafficker will get them hooked on some type of drug, and of course, a lot of times they're expected to perform 15 times a day, and so a woman is going to have some drugs in order to do that. So drug addiction is a real problem in this, but then as Lou had alluded to in an earlier segment, a lot of your gangs who have done drug activity are now seeing the benefit of sex trafficking, because it's one person that they can use over and over and over again, as opposed to a drug that they sell and then have to purchase and then sell. And so we're really seeing a lot more gang activity involved in this.
Tell us a little bit, Lou, about what one would expect to see on the program at the summit. What kind of topics would be discussed? What kind of folks would be visiting with the audience?
I will tell you some, and then I'll kick that back to Valeska for a final on that, because Valeska is actually chairing this and has spent the better part of 2 years immersed in talking to everybody who you're going to see at the summit. We're going to have some guest speakers, including Daryl Weaver, who will be talking about OBN's role and what they do. And if your viewers have had a chance to go to one of the OBN community conversations on human trafficking,
Oklahoma Bureau of
Narcotics. I highly recommend that. They've been having conversations all over the state on this issue. And if you see one in your area, by all means, you should go to that, because it folds in really well to what we're doing, and it's a really good background. But Director Weaver will be talking. Our keynote speaker we're very excited to talk about is Autumn Burris. She's a nationally known speaker, and she herself is a survivor.
Where is she?
Southern California.
Yeah.
And she has an organization for survivors, and I'll kick that over to Valeska if you'll tell a little bit about the panels and about Ms. Burris.
Okay, let me start with our keynote speaker, Ms. Burris. She does have an organization called Survivors for Solutions, and they are based out of California. And this organization works with the state of California, but also on national legislation, and they've even been involved in UN information about policies and laws to combat human trafficking from a survivor's perspective. And I think that is really unique, because it's one thing for us who are not survivors of this to talk about it, but it's a whole nother story when somebody who has come out of that and has empowered herself and now other survivors to really make a difference in the world in the area of human trafficking. So I'm really excited about her as a keynote speaker and to see what can be done. We will have panels at the summit. We have 3 areas that we are focusing on. One is on prevention of human trafficking, and of course that's going to include all types of things like awareness, how to get the word out, not only to people who work with vulnerable populations, but to the everyday person also. We also will have a panel on protection that focuses on adult victim services and how what laws we can look at to really help get some of that protection, get some funding to get her the help that she needs to walk through the process. It's a long-term healing process. And then we also have a panel on child victim services because of the issues with it being a child and as opposed to an adult. And so we will be bringing panelists in everywhere from legislators, law enforcement, DHS policymakers, non-government agencies and service providers are part of this panel. And then as the participants are listening, they are deciding what area they want to work on. Then at the last half of the day, the participants will then commit to that particular area, and then we will work on a collaborative effort to really put together an action plan for our state.
Well, you hope to have a plan then evolve out of this summit.
We absolutely do. Our partners going forward, Bureau of Narcotics and Oklahoma Women's Coalition, are committed to helping us move this effort forward in the long run. We have several legislators interested in this. I know the governor is interested in this problem. The Attorney General has a law enforcement task force on this problem. So we are committed to moving together in a collaborative and unified way with what we decide at the summit. I should say, if you want to be part of this, if any of your listeners want to come do this,
how would they get involved?
If you want to register for the summit, it will be $40, and you go to the website that you'll tell them about at the end of the show, and there is a link there to register. There is also there are a long series of links to sites dealing with the problem of human trafficking where you can learn more about it. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that we are also fortunate to have some partners, to have some sponsors for this summit. And those include the Junior League of Oklahoma City, which has done a wonderful job in helping us actually put it on, and Love's Country Stores. And that's very important. Love's is among our sponsors because one of the places you see this so often, one of the places people can look for this, is at truck stops, travel plazas, rest stops, all those highway intersections, casinos, sporting events, big ticket events.
Any place people gather, I guess.
Any place people gather, and any place people gather with money.
We're in the last 30 seconds. What's the last thing you want to tell our viewers, just in a couple of sentences, about this upcoming summit and the problem?
This is the chance for not only policymakers in the state of Oklahoma, but regular people to actually come together and create a plan that's going to actually make a difference in the state of Oklahoma in combating human trafficking.
Lou, final word.
Valeska said that perfectly. This is a chance for all of us as citizens to be involved and make a difference.
Well, thanks to both of you for coming this morning. Thanks for doing the good work you're doing. You're making life a lot better for a lot of folks. And we've got to end it here now. That's our last word, but good luck to you on the summit in a week or so.
Thank you.
We've been visiting with Lou Kohlman and Valeska Littlefield about the horrors of human trafficking and the upcoming summit. And we hope you'll attend. I will, when we come back, give you a website that will allow you to communicate with the commission and find out how to register. You're watching The Verdict. I'll be right back.
The human body, an amazing machine. What we're capable of is astonishing. If we look to what makes us human, we find that life is more than a heartbeat, and hope is more than an idea. That knowledge moves us forward, and our community keeps us together. OU Medicine is at its heart, keeping Oklahoma alive and well.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back. We had a very interesting show this morning on the horrors of human trafficking, but more encouragingly, we learned about a summit that's going to be taking place in a week to 10 days here in Oklahoma City at the Sheraton Hotel. I encourage you to go to the website that I'm about to give you, get more information about it, figure out how you can get involved, figure out how you can register, and do your part to try to solve this very, very terrible problem. The website is ok.gov/OCSW. We do appreciate Lou Kohlman and Valeska Littlefield joining us today. I bring you regards from Mick Cornett. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. Our website is theverdict.tv. Get on our website and tell us what kind of show you'd like to see. And we really appreciate you joining us this morning. We will see you next week.